So you are a shy Asian guy. Why are you shy, man? Why are you shy? Life is better when you're not shy. I remember when I was shy. Let me tell you a story. I was 18 years old at this time, just graduated high school. I just broke up with my first girlfriend. It was very much a puppy love, where towards the end it was a little bit toxic because, puppy love. Both of you projecting your insecurities and trauma from your parents and upbringing onto each other. And I was navigating adulthood, fresh out of high school. I took a gap year. I was from Hong Kong at the time, and I went to Australia and then Europe. And that was the trip where I found out that as a normal Asian guy, average looking, probably below average looking at the time, nothing happens unless you do something. Maybe you've learned that lesson by now. If you're younger and you haven't learned that lesson by now, you will. If you're at a conference, you want to meet certain people, certain business connections that you want to network with, they're not going to come up to you. If you're at a bar, at a cafe, you see your 10 out of 10 girl, baddie, ABG, your future rave babe, whatever you're into, transsexual, man, another man, whatever floats your boat, they're not going to come up to you. And if you play the game of, I'm just going to wait until they come up to me, and because I only want people who are highly interested in me, and I attract, not chase. I think that's not a good way to go about life, especially as a guy. I think as a girl, at least in this aspect of interpreting the phrase attract, not chase, as a girl, you can go to the bar, you can just exist, and then, yeah, sure, by the law of attraction, things will just come to you. But I think for men, the law of attraction works a little bit differently. You still have to put in work, you still have to put yourself out there, because if you want to meet a girl, girls are not going to come up to you. Unless you're like male model looking like me. But you're not. But yeah, I remember when I was 18 and I arrived in Vancouver at the time. I was so excited to be there. And I actually stayed at a hostel where there was a lot of travelers from other cities. And that was probably one of my first times being in a city where I had no friends, I didn't know anybody. And I was surrounded by strangers, and I was just hanging out with strangers all day. And you know how they say when you travel, it's an opportunity to reinvent yourself because nobody knows you and you can be whoever the hell you want? I could, but I was scared. I didn't know who I was. I was still 18, and who I was just me in high school. That self-perception, that ego, and with the set of behaviors that I've rehearsed, and that was just me. I didn't know who I was outside of that. So the way I dealt with this uncertainty was I closed myself off. I became shy. That's one thing that I want you to think about. It's, are you shy? Are you introverted because you're scared? Because I was. I really was. And you can feel it as well. Like, I always knew I had so much to say. When I was with my friends, when I was hanging out with people I'm comfortable with, my boys, I always had jokes to say, and there was always a personality there. I had things to say, things to express. But then if you put me in front of a bunch of strangers, hot girl, suddenly I'm shy. I'm introverted. I don't think that's shy. I think this type of shy is fear. And it's fear that is excused by, you can call it modern propaganda of, I'm an introvert. What's your MBTI? I'm INFJ. And if you're I, that means I'm introverted. That means I just don't do these things. It must be so nice to be an E person. It must be so nice to be an extrovert. I was not an extrovert. I was terrified of socializing with strangers, and now I can socialize with strangers. I can do public speaking. I did a stand-up comedy show last year. That was a lot of fun. Maybe tell me more about it later. But honestly, I think as a guy, you're better off thinking about what do you want your life to be like. You know, if you could craft your perfect 10 out of 10, video game character, what character do you want to be? How does he behave in XYZ situations? When he sees his perfect 10 out of 10 girl, does he tell himself he's shy or does he go for it? Because you can change. A lot of the best performers in the world, stand-up comedians or performers, actors, singers, a lot of them are introverts. Introverts can be very social too. And as you allow yourself out, as you stop holding yourself back with this obsessive overthinking, which is most likely the main reason why you're shy in the first place. But once you let yourself out, you might realize that actually, I quite like socializing, and maybe I'm not an introvert. Maybe I am not shy. Maybe I was just scared. So, yeah, guys, scared money don't make money. If you're at a business conference, you're gonna meet a business connection, you gotta take matters into your own control. Have you guys seen the documentary of Kanye West on Netflix? If you haven't, I highly recommend watching it. So interesting, like so cool. I never really cared about Kanye West until I watched that documentary. After watching it, I have so much respect for the guy because just the level of delusional self-belief that he had in himself, I found it so impressive and so inspiring. Long story short, he was a producer who was trying to get a shot as a rapper, but no one was taking him seriously. And he had a cameraman follow him around from very early days, from when he was still a nobody. Nobody took him seriously as a rapper. And he would just barge into offices of record labels and say, hey, yo, can I spit a bar for you? Can I show you my new song? And then people would half entertain him, brushing him off, very blasé with him. They'd be like working on something, yeah, sure, do your thing. And then he would just go all out and put on an amazing show. They would still ignore him. Nobody paid attention to him for years. But he fucking believed in himself, and he, law of attraction, manifested this whole thing. That's what it takes sometimes, I think. I think in this day and age, if you can have a mindset like that, a mindset of a lion, of a go-getter, who gets the job done, who knows what needs to be done, does it regardless of how he feels, I truly think you will kill it. I get it, I grew up in Asia, so I definitely get it. There's the, what do you call it? Tall poppy syndrome, where pretty much we're brought up to not stand out. Right? Unlike American culture, where you're brought up to embrace your individuality and always express how you feel, whether it's in the form of lashing out, or you're always encouraged to just, hey, this is how I feel and I'm gonna express it. I think there's good and bad about each culture, but if you're an Asian person and you were brought up to, hey, always obsessively think about what others are thinking instead of just going for it, just doing what you want, yeah, that might be something worth looking into, because I think at the end of the day, what we all want is authenticity. You want to do what you want, say what you want, right? Whatever your dreams, aspirations, desires are deep in your heart, that's what you want to do. And only you can know what that is. Yeah, I think that's what we want at the end of the day. We all just want to be more free, to speak our minds, do what we want, to say hi to that pretty girl, to post that video that you're worried about posting. I think that is really how you pay respect to this opportunity of being alive.